Tennessee going to Oklahoma. In Josh Heupel's return, Tennessee is a 6.5-point favorite. I'm calling this the Hypo Bowl until further notice. I cannot wait for this one. Cannot wait for this one. The atmosphere will be electric. The place will be on fire. Very, very curious to see what the reception is for Josh Heupel. If like they do a little, hey, thank you, Josh Heupel for everything when he gets back to Norman, or if it's just like, hey, you're with them, we're with us, let's get after it. Probably feel like it'll be a lot more you versus us. But here we go, Oklahoma. You only get to make a first impression once. Like when you meet your girlfriend's father for the first time, you don't get a do-over at that handshake. You can't grab early and grab his fingers and then it's just an awkward handshake, or maybe you go in a little bit too floppy fish and then you just look soft. Like, you get one chance to make a first impression in the SEC. Get them at the crib. You got, I would say at this point in time, the best offense in college football coming to you. I mean, it's going to be very, very much so all the smoke you signed up for. And that's the thing for Oklahoma too. Like, I want to make this very clear. Every single fan that I have interacted with from the Oklahoma fan base, there has not been one inkling of, well, I don't know if we're going to fit in the SEC. I don't know if we're up to par. Like, they're like, no, we want to be in this. Like, this is the creme de la creme of college football. We consider ourselves a creme de la creme program in college football. Like, bring it on. Let's ride. And so I love that mentality. I love that from Oklahoma. They're not running from any of the smoke. And they're going to have a chance now to get after it here in their first game in the SEC against Tennessee. Nebraska fans, Illinois fans, whoever you're a fan of, when it comes to the greatest sport on the face of planet Earth, make sure you're subscribed right here to the On3 YouTube channel. We appreciate y'all for being a part of this college football sicko community. This prediction is brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. Daily fantasy, made easy, easy to play, easy to understand, easy to withdraw what you win. When you use code HARDCOUNT now at prizepicks.com, $5 in lineups gets you $50 in promo funds. Great way to support the show using that code. We appreciate y'all so much in advance for that. How do you play? Super easy. You pick 2 or more player projections, pick the more or less on that. You got a lineup, you're off to the races. Back to the prediction. Now for Tennessee, there's a lot of emotions baked into this one. I mentioned Josh Heupel coming back to Norman. There's a ton of excitement, obviously, too, with the way your team has played to this point in the season. For Nico Iamaleava, his first true road game. How do they handle that? Because mature teams are the teams that hoist hardware. Mature teams are also the teams that handle emotions properly and correctly and play their best football regardless of the circumstances. Home, away, neutral, they play their game. Is that Tennessee? We're going to learn a lot in this game. Now, Nico Iamaleava, I mentioned his first road game. Road games don't lie to us. Okay, they're going to tell us exactly who you are. I'm not telling you if he plays poorly that he's just somehow not who we thought he was, but I think we learned a lot about him in this game. Even if this game was at a neutral site, Oklahoma is still going to be the best defense they've seen, which isn't saying a whole lot. No shade to Chattanooga or to Kent State or to NC State for that matter, but like we're cranking up the speed here on this old pitch machine. Brent Venables, we compare game plans to packing a suitcase. You depending on your opponent, you pack maybe a heavier bag. Brent Venables, I'm just telling you, if this was like a plane flight he was taking, his bag would not clear that 50-pound weight limit they put on you to pack your bag on the airplane. He's going to have something cooked up. Okay, they will bring a lot of pressure. It's a veteran defense. It's a salty outfit led by Danny Stutzman. It's a fast defense as well. I love the way that they're able to run sideline to sideline. Oklahoma, to this point in the year, has an 11% sack rate. Okay, now it's also true, though, when you bring pressure, there's a little bit of risking it for said biscuit. Okay, so if you don't get home now, you're playing a quarterback in Nico Iamaleava, who we have talked ad nauseum about his mobility. And that's really the thing that I want to hone in on here. If Nico Iamaleava is able to beat the blitz, there's going to be space. Whether it's for him to run the football or whether it's somebody else streaking open downfield, there's going to be space. So that really is a massive part of this whole thing. When Oklahoma dials it up, are they able to get home? And getting home does not mean that you have to get a strip sack and you're going the other way with it. Getting home just means, are you able to impact the throw? So within that now, Dylan Sampson, the running back for Tennessee, he's not the quarterback. He wasn't the number one recruit in the 2023 class, but That's, of course, I'm referring to Nico Iamaleava there, if you didn't catch that. He's hooping right now, though. Like, he's averaging 8 yards a carry. I think he has to have a massive, at least start to this game to kind of settle that Brent Venables defense down a little bit. That's going to be huge. So watch how he starts the game early. If he's able to get some momentum and doesn't have to run for 8 yards a carry, but he's able to run for, call it 4 yards a carry, that'd be phenomenal. At that point now, if you're Tennessee, or if you're Oklahoma, have to maybe check yourself a little bit before you blitz there. Now, the matchups for Oklahoma's offense to me are just fascinating because Oklahoma's question mark on the offensive line is what I would consider to be the strength of Tennessee's defense on the defensive line. Oklahoma's allowed 9 sacks so far to this point in the year. Just full transparency, they haven't played all that vaunted of any defensive units between Houston and Tulane. Like, they've allowed 3 sacks every single game. For Tennessee now, they consider themselves to be 12 deep on the defensive line. They got James Pierce, who's about to be, I would consider, like a top 15, if not higher, draft pick this time next year. Now, so that's one part of this. But the other side of this is I think Oklahoma's strengths offensively match pretty well with Tennessee's weaknesses defensively, or at least question marks. Tennessee's secondary, hard to call it a question or a weakness just yet, but, I mean, it is a lot of new faces. They went to the portal pretty heavy, got some pieces there. How do they match up with Oklahoma's receiving corps? I think Deion Burks is quietly one of the better playmakers in all of college football. They expect to have Nick Anderson back in this game, another deep threat for Oklahoma. Jackson Arnold is going to have his work cut out for him a little bit in this game. I'm curious to see how Seth Littrell calls this game as well. If it's me, and I'm not Seth Littrell, I'm not calling the Oklahoma offense, but I would expect a good amount of pre-snap movement to try and at least throw the Tennessee defense off balance. I would also, if it's me, move the pocket a bit with Jackson Arnold. Because Jackson Arnold now, he's got some wiggle. Like, he was a 5-star cat in that exact same class as Nico Iamaleava as well. Like, he's got some juice to him. You get him out on the perimeter, he doesn't like it. He has a chance to get north and south and pick up a first down every single time. So what he does with his legs could ultimately be the neutralizing factor to that Tennessee defensive line. I don't think that's irresponsible to say. They have had a couple of games that have been slow to start for Oklahoma, but I would not be shocked in the slightest if they, similar to Brent Venables, pack a heavier bag with this game plan. They're going to get, you would hope they're able to get a little bit more healthy when it comes to this game. We're recording this, or shooting this rather, live on a Tuesday. Wednesday is when the SEC injury report comes out. But expect Oklahoma to be a little bit more well-resourced when it comes to guys they have healthy on that roster. So here's the deal now. Tennessee hasn't had to play a 4-quarter game just yet. And we'll see how much that matters. But I'll just say this. As a player, it is very difficult to go from playing 2 quarters of a football game, being excited to throw your towel on and, have Gatorade with the boys on the sidelines while the rest of the guys get in, to then having to go, oh, no, you got to play all 4 quarters here. Like, this is obviously going to be a very different test than Chattanooga or Kent State. And NC State even ended up not being that great of a test for Tennessee. How do you adapt to that? Are you able to have sustained intensity? Because I promise you this, Oklahoma, that crowd, they will have sustained intensity for all 4 quarters. And Oklahoma, as much as you want to say, hey, they've started slow against Tulane, and finished slow against Tulane, started slow against Houston. That's still an outfit there that, in some ways, like, if that game is close in the 3rd quarter, they're not going to be uncomfortable. They'll be where they've been for the better part of the last 2 weeks. So in that way, I think that actually favors Oklahoma when you look at that. Where is Tennessee when that first wave passes? And what I mean by wave is, like, I expect Oklahoma to come out guns blazing. Both from a crowd perspective, it'll be absolutely ridiculous at kickoff. I think the defense will dial it up because they, like Danny Stutzman said, they understand. Young quarterback, want to give him a complex picture to look at. Brent Venables is going to throw the kitchen sink at him. But when it all settles down, call it after the 1st quarter, where's the game at? Maybe that first wave lasts the whole first half. Maybe get to the 3rd quarter. Where is the game at? Is Oklahoma able to get some leverage and it's like, hey, 17-3 Oklahoma? I'm just telling you, that is in the cards here. That is absolutely in the cards here. My gut, though, is that Tennessee is going to be in a manageable spot because of what that defense brings. The thing I can't get out of my mind is I've seen Oklahoma give up pressure with 4 guys, just different stunts given that offensive line issues. Say what you want about them being dinged up and this and that and the other, but like that was my concern heading into the season for Oklahoma. We had Oklahoma as 6-6 on our preseason takes, and my mentions are still blowing up. And I'm sure if Oklahoma wins this game afterwards, the mentions will be blowing up again. But I'm telling y'all this, man. I think Josh Heupel is too dialed in. I think Nico Iamaleava is too talented. This game, at the end of the day, college football, it's about matchups. And the matchups that Tennessee has on the defensive and offensive line, what they have on the perimeter, and their quarterback, I believe, eventually getting his footing in this raucous environment, like, I think Tennessee is going to be able to eventually pull away in this one. Ari Wasserman had something to say this morning on him and Andy Staples' show, Andy and Ari on 3, for those of y'all that aren't tuned in. Subscribe to the channel. Great stuff every single weekday morning. He said this is the week that Tennessee, people stop rolling their eyes at them in the rankings. Y'all, we should have been not rolling our eyes at Tennessee. They 70-piece. I don't care who you 70-piece somebody, you got something under the hood. So I think Tennessee wins. I think Tennessee covers. I don't think it's particularly all that close. If we're wrong, we'll go back to the crow. We'll eat it on Tuesday. But, y'all, I don't think we're wrong here. I think Tennessee makes a statement on the road, and Josh Heupel's return to Norman. I think Tennessee plays passionate, emotional football for their head coach. And I think Tennessee stakes their claim and plants their flag as being a team that is going to be very, very much so in the college football playoff race.